Hi there. I first played Rhapsody back in high school whenever it first came out, and I immediately fell in love with it. Later on, whenever it was re-released for the DS, I did go out and pick up a copy, but I didn't think that the DS version was as good as the original PlayStation version. But now that Rhapsody Marvel Kingdom Chronicles is coming out, and that is a direct sequel to the first Rhapsody, I thought that it would really be important to go back to the first game and explain the story to y'all and explain exactly what happened. So I tried to find my original PlayStation copy, but I guess I must have sold it along with like hundreds of other games where I was in college. So I went, fired up my trusty old emulator, and I played through it to refresh my memory because it's been like 25 years since I played it, to report back to you exactly what occurred in Cornet's adventure. Rhapsody Marvel Kingdom Chronicles is coming out really soon, and if you're not aware, basically it's a compilation of Rhapsody 2 and 3, originally released back on the PlayStation, but only in Japan. Each of them, though, are direct sequels to one another, with the second game following the heroine's daughter from the first game. So as you can imagine, it's pretty important to know what happened in the first outing. But first, let's get some gameplay out of the way, just so you really know what you're going to be getting yourselves into. At its core, Rhapsody is a strategy RPG, but don't think that it's anywhere near as complex as something like Final Fantasy Tactics or Tactics Ogre. Think more along the lines of, say, Lunar, where random battles occur, and then you move your characters around a grid, get them close to the enemies, and then whack them to smithereens. And well, yeah, the battle system is a whole lot of fun for me back in the day. It was definitely on the easy side, but nowadays I'm sure it would just be considered clunky and slow. So you'll be happy to know that the entire battle system in the new compilation has been completely overhauled to be a much quicker, turn-based affair. What really puts it over the top, though, is when the characters just kind of like break out into song randomly. Cornet, the heroine, has some really cute songs, and Adelaide is actually a decent singer herself. But even the evil Queen Marjorie breaks out the microphone and sings about how much she's in love with the prince, while her little henchwomen sing back, saying that she's an old dried up prune. It's so funny. But just keep in mind that while we're going through the story, that many cutscenes are actually done in a musical fashion. The whole thing is super cute. So with all that out of the way, let's talk about the story and what actually happened, because that is definitely what turned this into a memorable cult classic. The characters are endearing, and the story is absolutely hysterical. You play as Cornet, a young girl with the magical ability to communicate with puppets by playing her horn. And she's accompanied on her journey by her sarcastic and ever so slightly bitchy fairy friend Karuru. Together they set off into the forest to help her grandfather gather some firewood, but unfortunately, while she's there, she gets accosted by a bumbling stupid witch and her little cat gang. This is a fateful encounter that you'll soon regret, because it sets off a chain reaction that you just can't stop. After Cornet and her puppets beat them up, the witch ends up summoning a dragon, but our heroine is saved by her knight in shining armor, Prince Ferdinand. The witch runs off and Cornet is just enamored by him, while conversely, the prince runs off so fast that he doesn't really get a good look at Cornet. So the next day, Cornet decides to make for the big city and maybe catch a glimpse of the prince at his coming-of-age ceremony. The whole kingdom is abuzz, as the castle's holding a contest to see who will become the prince's bride. So of course, Cornet enters, and it's here that she meets up with her rich bitch neighbor Adelaide. I adore her. She just makes the entire game for me. She is the epitome of the oh-ho-ho-ho girl, running around calling everybody a peasant, flaunting all of her money around town, body shaming girls left and right, as well as ensuring that no one else can join in on the ceremony as she proceeds to buy up every single dress in town. She is just the best. In desperation, Cornet hears about an old abandoned theater, so there she picks up the most ridiculous costume that you've ever seen in your entire life to enter the contest and win the prince's hand in marriage. Of course, after that whole contest is over, it comes down to you versus Adelaide, and it's here, over the course of the contest, that you two come to realize quite a few things about one another. While Cornet doesn't have parents at all, Adelaide doesn't get along with hers at all, and they can even be a bit on the abusive side too. So the two girls come to a tentative peace as they are declared co-winners, though Adelaide really doesn't want anything to do with the prince. She really only entered just to be a raving bitch. The only thing that she wants is money, not a man. After the ceremony is over though, the evil witch's leader from before literally crash lands into the castle, as she's seeking revenge not only on Cornet, but the prince for defeating the dragon and humiliating her underlings. Once she lands though, she falls head over heels in love with Prince Charming, but then accidentally turns him into stone rather than casting a love spell on him. So in all her wisdom, she decides to kidnap him and take him back to her castle. So it's here that the true game begins as Cornet and Kururu decide to go off on a journey to rescue him. It's just that Adelaide has the exact same idea, though God forbid the rich bitch lifts a finger to help you. Instead, she's there to compete with you and see who can rescue the prince first. So Cornet decides that the best thing to do is to climb up the Tower of Wisdom and see the sage, who tells her that she needs to gather the 5 heartstones that are scattered around the kingdom, and with those, she'll be able to restore the prince back to his former state. And it's really here that the game opens up and allows you to explore at your own leisure. You'll be going to sunken ghost ships, sweltering steamy volcanoes, ice-cold snowfields, deep mines filled with gemstones, a train caught up in a worm's stomach, and probably the most tragic story in a froggy kingdom, coupled with the most shocking death that I've really ever seen. In such a light-hearted, fun game, I was not expecting such a cold-hearted death. After gathering up the 5 heartstones, Cornet goes back to the sage, but before she can do so, she's stopped by Marjolie's gang again, and it's here that Kururu, Cornet's ever-faithful fairy sidekick, kind of flashes in angelic form and saves Cornet from Marjolie's henchwoman. Afterwards, they climb up the tower, and they learn that the stones are really just used to get inside of Marjolie's beauty castle, because that floats up in the sky. But the real way to cure the prince is to give him a true love's kiss. Upon hearing this, Kururu faints from overexertion, and the sage allows us to travel inside of her dreams and see what's going on here. So now, you're going to travel 10 years into the past, and you'll get to see a younger version of yourself and Adelaide, as well as the puppet Kururu and your mother. But upon returning to the past, Cornet realizes that this is actually the day that her mother died, and she's determined to change the future. But, despite her best efforts, Cornet's mother tragically does still die to the ancient weapon strangely hidden in a graveyard beneath the town. Yeah, it doesn't exactly make a whole lot of sense, but her last wish is for her spirit to live on inside of the Kururu puppet. And it's here that the fairy really comes to life and you are able to see the truth, that your mother was actually by your side throughout the entire adolescence and the whole journey. After this realization, you gather yourself together with new determination to rescue the prince and put a stop to Marjolie once and for all. So after wrapping up any sort of loose ends and gathering up all your puppets, you have to put the heartstones into the pedestals, warp up to the beauty castle, and take on Marjolie, only to pound her with ease. And it's then that Gonzalo, the kingdom's evil chancellor, reveals that he is actually the mastermind behind everything, as he has revived the ancient weapon that killed your mother, and it's up to you to take it down along with Adelaide. After doing so though, Gonzalo begins to flee, but Marjolie's henchwomen take care of him and teleport him away, while Cornet instead goes in for a true love's kiss. Then this would not be a complete fairy tale ending without them getting married and living happily ever after. Only the night of the wedding, she finds Kururu sitting outside, all alone, and upon talking to her, her mother's spirit separates from the puppet's body as her work here is now done. Cornet is a married woman and no longer needs her mother's protection, so she leaves the earthly realm, letting her know how proud of her she is and how happy she was to be able to watch over her. It is truly a touching adventure. So that's what happened in Rhapsody, a musical adventure. How did you feel about this game, and which version did you play? The PlayStation, the DS, or even the Steam version? Let's get a discussion going on here, and let's all talk and chat about it, because I'm always in the comments too. And if you like what it is you hear on the channel, please head on over to the Patreon to sign up for early access to my videos, as well as behind the scenes photographs. The link to it is over in the video description. And as always, please like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good day.